Good evening, everyone. How are you tonight? Welcome to Millennium Stage, and good evening if you're here live, and good morning if you are across the world watching our live stream. So I have the pleasure of welcoming to the stage our program curator for this week, Sushmita Muzumdar. Here she is.
Hello, everybody. I am so glad to see you all here today for our wonderful presentation at the Kennedy Center during your 50th anniversary of the Kennedy Center. This is our concluding day of our program, Celebrating Light and Life, Diwali at the Kennedy Center. So welcome and enjoy the show.
Enjoy.
Shanti.
I hope you enjoyed that film. That film is by Susan Sterner, who's a multimedia documentary artist and photojournalism educator at Corcoran School of the Arts and Design. Her mentoring is centered on supporting others in developing their voices and visions. Through photography, her projects explored the beauty of hard work that sustain community and connections. Light Paper Color, the film you just viewed, is a response to Sushmita's stories of growing up in Mumbai and the new saris, rangolis, and plates of sweets for Diwali. It is a meditation of light playing across the textures of artist paper and the breath from the Upanishad Chandogya performed by Dena Jennings. Dr. Dena Jennings, who you will hear shortly, is an osteopathic physician of internal medicine who has 30 years experience in primary care and counseling. In 1996, when she opened her medical practice, she established a nonprofit human rights organization that is a consultant for the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs. She works with communities, governments, companies, and individuals who choose to practice meditation and conflict transformation. Dr. Dena lives on an organic herb farm with her husband, Donald Jennings, in Central Virginia, where she is responsible for trail maintenance and citizen science programs. She maintains nearly 20 miles of trails and a 200-foot diameter peace labyrinth. So today's program is centered around a storybook that I made in 2012 I forget which year, but many years ago. And we will be doing a storytelling with Rubén Villalta and me. And the story that you'll hear today, all the performances are centered around this book that I made, which then other people made, and then how they were inspired to create their own responses, like the one you just viewed. So now I would like to invite on the stage Rubén Villalta. Come on, Rubén. So Studio Pause is the presenter of today's program, which is my art studio in Arlington, Virginia. I see a lot of pausers here. Rubén is also a pauser. Rubén was my artist in residence in 2017.
Actually, it was in
2017, 2018.
2018, yeah.
Yeah, and I was invited to teach a workshop Diwali workshop at the Freer and Sackler Galleries of Art. And Rubén joined me there. And from there, the story starts. So I will just give you Rubén's bio. Get my glasses back on. Rubén Villalta was born in San Salvador, El Salvador, in December 1995. As a kid, he remembers having difficulties reading and writing, but with the help of his mother, Cecilia Guerrero, he learned to read when he was 8 years old. Today, he is still learning English as his second language, and he expects to become a professional translator someday. Rubén says, "I didn't realize how beautiful this story is until I did the translation into Spanish. Sushmita teaches all that, like the little lantern, we all have a purpose that makes our lives shine." Actually, the little lantern teaches us that, Rubén. So we are going to read from our books. I just want to share that this program is called Our Light, Our Story, Inspiration is Everywhere, because that is what the book Little Lantern and the Dark and Moonless Night is about. And this is the lantern that we're talking about in the book. Come. Little Lantern and the Dark and Moonless Night, a Diwali Story, a handmade storybook by Sushmita Muzumdar.
La lamparita y la luna sin noche, una historia sobre Diwali, un handmade storybook por Sushmita Mazumdar, traducido al español por Rubén Villalta.
Here I am, sitting on the front porch of the writer's house. I remember how she had said, there would be no moon out tonight. And I know dark, moonless nights like this are scary. So why did she think a simple little lantern like me could help?
Aquí estoy, sentada a la entrada de la casa de la escritora. Recuerdo cómo ella dijo que esta noche no habría luna. Sé que noches como estas son oscuras y tenebrosas. Entonces, ¿qué pensaba ella al creer que una lamparita como yo serviría de algo?
Back at the Potter's ceramic studio, I had heard the writer tell him about a story she was working on, a story about tonight, a night called Diwali. I had heard it when I was but a ball of clay on the potter's wheel.
Había oído en el taller del alfarero a la escritora contándole a este sobre el cuento que estaba escribiendo sobre esta noche, llamada Diwali. Lo había escuchado cuando no era más que una bola de arcilla sobre la rueda del alfarero.
The writer entered the studio as her friend, the potter, was making some of his lovely little lanterns. They look magical, she said. Can you make one for me? Sure, the potter said. He put me, a ball of clay, onto his wheel and started working me into a shape. I remember how the writer loved the way I looked, even as a slippery, shapeless blob spinning on the wheel.
La escritora vino de visita al taller de su amigo mientras éste hacía hermosas lamparitas. Se ven mágicas, dijo ella. ¿Me harías una? Claro que sí, dijo el alfarero. Me puso a mí una bolita de arcilla sobre su rueda y comenzó a moldearme. Recuerdo cuánto le encantó a la escritora cómo me veía, aún siendo una masa sin forma girando sobre la rueda del alfarero.
What makes you create these? She asked the potter. I don't know, he said. Something calls me, tugs at me, tells me to create. His clay-covered hands were pushing, smoothing, shaping me as he spoke. The writer watched him work. It is a miracle. Yes, it is, isn't it? He agreed. Me? A miracle? But I was just common earth mixed with some water.
¿Qué te hace crear esto? Preguntó ella al alfarero. No lo sé, dijo él. Algo me llama, me mueve y me pide crear. Sus manos cubiertas de arcilla estaban forjándome, suavizándome y moldeándome según él hablaba. La escritora vio su trabajo. Es un milagro. Sí lo es cierto, asintió él. ¿Yo? ¿Un milagro? Si no era más que tierra con un poco de agua.
Some earth and water, plus the work of your hands, your ideas, and the love from your heart, she added. But you know, it is nothing if nobody wants it, the potter said, pulling me tall and then adding a belly. The little lantern's journey will end when somebody wants it and gives it purpose. He pulled a wire under me, and I came off the wheel and into his gentle and now clean hands.
Algo de tierra más agua junto con tus ideas, tus manos y el amor de tu corazón, agregó ella. Sabes, no es nada si nadie lo quiere, dijo el alfarero, alándome hacia arriba y agregándome una pancita. El trayecto de la lamparita terminará cuando alguien la quiera y le dé un propósito. Él aló un alambre debajo de mí y salí de la rueda en sus gentiles y recién limpias manos.
When I was stiff but still wet, the potter carved and cut patterns into my walls with a knife. I wondered why. Little shapes of clay fell off me, and cool air and light came in. He then dipped me in two glazes. My top half was gray, and my bottom half rust. What color will it be? The writer asked. What did she mean? Couldn't she see my colors? It will be a surprise, the potter smiled. But tell me, what will you use the little lantern for?
Cuando estaba firme pero mojada aún, el alfarero talló y cortó formas dentro de mis paredes con un cuchillo. Me pregunté por qué. Pequeñas formas de arcilla cayeron a mi lado dando paso a una brisa fresca y algo de luz por mis agujeros. Luego me sumergió en dos tipos de barnices. La mitad de mí se veía gris y la otra mitad de mí se veía color óxido. ¿De qué color será?, preguntó la escritora. ¿A qué se refería? ¿Acaso no veía mis colores?
It will be a surprise.
Será una sorpresa, sonrió el alfarero. Dime para qué usarás la lamparita.
Well, next month is Diwali. I'll put the little lantern on my front porch that night. I will put a light in it and celebrate like the millions of Indians who will be putting out their diyas. Wow, is Diwali the festival of lights? And what are diyas? Yes, Diwali is also called the festival of lights, the writer said. It is a holiday Indians and people of Indian origin from around the world celebrate in the fall. It always comes on a dark, moonless night, and people light tiny terracotta lamps with wicks called diyas and hang paper lanterns from their ceilings.
Bueno, el próximo mes es Diwali. Pondré la lamparita en la entrada esa noche. Le pondré una lucecita y celebraré como millones de indios, quienes pondrán afuera sus días. ¡Wow! ¿Diwali es el festival de las luces? ¿Qué es una dilla? Sí, Diwali es el festival de las luces, dijo la escritora. Es un festejo indio y gente de origen indio de todo el mundo lo celebra en otoño. Siempre cae una noche sin luna y la gente enciende lamparitas de terracota con mechas llamadas días. Cuelgan lámparas de papel en sus techos.
The writer continued, we also make colorful rangolis outside our front doors and put the lamps in the middle. I know light chases away darkness, the potter said, and the lamps will also show the way so blessed rewards can enter our homes, the writer explained. I'm so happy little lantern will help you celebrate. The potter was pleased, but I was worried. That's all I heard before the potter put me on a shelf to dry. Then into a kiln I went with the other lanterns. We were heated to such a high temperature that we were glowing white. But I didn't burn to ashes. I came out transformed, stone-like and strong, and completely different colors.
La escritora continuó, nosotros también hacemos coloridos rangolis en nuestros patios y ponemos las lámparas en medio. Sé que la luz ahuyenta la oscuridad, dijo el alfarero. Las lámparas mostrarán también el camino para que las benditas recompensas entren en nuestros hogares, explicó la escritora. Me alegra tanto que la lamparita te ayude a celebrar. El alfarero estaba contento, pero yo estaba preocupada. Eso fue todo lo que había escuchado antes que el alfarero me puso en un estante para secar. Luego fui con otras lamparitas al horno. Fuimos calentadas a tal temperatura que nos pusimos blancas, pero no me convertí en cenizas. Salí transformada y dura como piedra y con colores distintos.
And now here I am sitting on the front porch of the writer's house. The moonless night is dark and vast, and I cannot see anything. Then my lid opens. The writer puts a tiny light inside me. I can hear music, people talking, children laughing.
Ahora estoy aquí, sentada a la entrada de la casa de la escritora. La noche es vasta y oscura, y no puedo ver nada. De repente, mi tapa se abre. La escritora pone una pequeña luz en mí. Puedo escuchar música, gente hablando y niños riendo.
Soon I feel warm and notice the beautiful light spills from my sides. I hear a child say, "Come, see my Rangoli. It looks so pretty with the little lantern in the middle." My light is shining on the colorful geometric patterns and floral shapes that sparkle under me. Beautiful, the other children say, sitting down around the Rangoli. They watch my light dance all over the bright colors. No. This one.
De pronto me siento tibia y noto una hermosa luz saliendo de mis costados. Escucho a un niño decir, ven a ver mi Rangoli. Se ve tan hermoso con la lamparita en el medio. Mi luz está brillando sobre los coloridos patrones geométricos y formas florales debajo de mí.
Hermoso. Beautiful, the other children say, sitting down around the Rangoli. They watch my light dance all over the bright colors. Thank you for your lovely light, little lantern, a child says. So this colorful design is the Rangoli? And they enjoy it because of my little light? I can't believe it.
Hermoso, dice otro niño sentándose alrededor de Rangoli. Ellos ven mi luz danzar sobre los colores. Muchas gracias por tu luz, lamparita, dice un niño. Así que este colorido diseño es el Rangoli. Ellos pueden disfrutarlo debido a mi luz. Increíble.
The porch has many lovely little lamps of all kinds, and I can see tiny lights in all of them. We glow and shine bright. We make the big, dark, moonless night quite festive, I must say. I hope I can help some blessed rewards find their way into the writer's home. And I know there are little lanterns lighting up the potter's home too. I see now how simple it can be to light up the darkest of dark nights. All you need is earth, water, and fire, some love and ideas, and people who celebrate, hope, and give thanks.
La entrada tiene muchas lamparitas bonitas de todos tipos y puedo ver lucecitas en todas ellas. Nuestro resplandor brilla. Hacemos la noche oscura y sin luna muy festiva, debo decir. Espero ser de ayuda para que algunas benditas recompensas encuentren el camino hacia la casa de la escritora. Sé que también hay lamparitas alumbrando en la casa del alfarero. Ahora veo lo simple que puede ser alumbrar la noche más oscura. Todo lo que necesitas es agua, tierra, fuego, algo de amor e ideas y personas que celebran, esperan y dan gracias.
And I'm so glad to now be a part of Diwali, the grand and centuries-old festival of lights.
Soy tan dichosa de formar parte ahora de Diwali, el gran festival milenario de las luces.
The second half of the book is the section where I write inspiration is everywhere, because the story started with my little daughter telling me, if you don't like the books out there about Diwali, just make your own book. And that is how I started thinking of what story I want to tell. And then, of course, my friend Jeff Rogers, who makes these, he's a potter, he lives in Vermont, and he made these beautiful lanterns. And I decided my Diwali is different now, because I know a potter. And then I'm a book artist. I work with books and paper, so I looked at different papers in my studio and tried to figure out how it would work. My friend Vaishali, who makes rangolis, I was looking on Facebook and looking at her work and trying to figure out my own rangoli. And then I remembered looking at folios of Persian paintings in the museum and seeing how they put the text really close to the spine. So when I open to the center, you don't see any text. And then there was a lady on the plane who told me about what children hear when they're still in our womb. And that gave me the idea that the narrator would be a ball of clay. Now I'll let Rubén tell you why he translated this book. Do you want to read from the back? Or
I guess I can just say something.
this one?
No, that's my bio.
Okay, so just share.
So, well, I'm not gonna say much more than she said already. So, one time I went to one of her workshops about this book, and I read the story, and I thought it was awesome. And, well, I thought it also would be great if people that doesn't speak English, like me at that time, could read this. And that's how I took the initiative to translate it.
So that is the little book that inspired Rubén to translate, inspired Susan to make the film, and also Dena to write this music. So I will invite Dena on the stage now to perform for us, and I will just add a little bit more to her bio. In addition to a solo medical practice, human rights work, and co-managing an organic herb farm, Dr. Dena is a musician who builds gourd banjos and other gourd instruments from around the world, like the iktara. Her instruments have been distributed in Canada, the UK, and USA. Together, she and her husband established the Afro-Latchian on-time music gathering, The Thang, which hosts nearly 100 Black string band artists and allies every September on the farm. Dr. Dena Jennings.
Thank you. Thank you, Shushmita and Rubén. Thank you, everyone who came out tonight to hear these stories, these inspirations. It's exciting to be here. And while I get situated, I'm going to talk a bit about my experience collaborating with Shushmita. Where do I start? She and I have been talking. We serve on a commission together, and in our off time, we would share stories and talk. And I had been making ektaras for about 2 or 3 years now. Most was inspired by a beautiful picture of a Bengal woman holding an ektara, dressed in a sari. And if you see my instruments there, her beautiful picture is there. Well, years ago, I was told the story of our family that there was an Indian woman, and at the time my grandmother thought a Native American woman, who was an ancestor, fourth grandmother back. Thank you. Fourth grandmother. And so, you know, we told that story, and we know that we're on land that was once loved by Native American people. So I held that story close, and I looked at Native American lore and stories and literature, including the story of the raven, where the story of light comes to the earth. And like many of you, I did my DNA to find out who in the world has DNA most like my own. There was 0 Native American blood in this fourth great-grandmother, but most of my DNA comes from the Bengal region of India. I was so excited. It explained so much. It explained why Shushmita and I get along so well, I think. It explained why I love the food, the music. I've been meditating since I was 12 years old. Just all these things came to life for me. I know a lot of people don't think much of the DNA testing, but it gives us an insight into some of the stories that we've lost. And it gives us the inspiration, the blood that we can think of when we think about this moonless night. So I think it was last year, Shushmita told me about her book, and I became very excited. She did a workshop online because of the pandemic, and in the workshop, I decided to join her. And as I was making this book and reading the story of the clay, I just got even more inspired. And this was right around Christmas time. And for me, I celebrate Advent, which is another celebration of light coming to the earth. Well, being on the farm and having as much to do as you heard about in my bio, I didn't feel like collecting pine branches to make my own Advent wreath. So after I made my Rangoli book, I said, why not use this as my Advent wreath? So I took 4 small tea lights, each one representing the lights of Advent for the week: joy, hope, faith, and love, and put those around the Rangoli book that I made with Shushmita. So that became my story of light. And she told me about this event that she was preparing, and she and I continued to share more stories, and more things came forward. And being here all week and hearing the great stories and watching the beautiful dances and hearing the glorious music last night, I felt like I was riding a lightning bolt. I needed to leave here and go home and write a song, and I did. So I wrote a song that you'll hear in a little bit, but I wrote this song because of the inspiration of Shushmita, my friend Shush. I thought about the Upanishads, the holy scriptures that are thousands of years old, and the description of Christ, thousands of years old, and how they share that same story of light coming to the earth. And how a few thousand years ago, two women in the Bengal area of India started a bloodline that ended up with two women on the Kennedy Center stage playing our heads off, having a great time, enjoying the creativity and the beauty of light this week. And so you'll hear some of that in the song that I wrote. So I'm going to stop talking now and I'm going to sing for you. I'll be playing on an ektara. This is a Gopati ektara, and the others that you see there are shaped kind of like a guitar, but it's a single string instrument, and you'll get to hear some of that. Thank you. And those words are from the Chandogya Upanishad. And the words are, then higher than this heaven, above the world, higher than everything in the highest world, higher than where nothing exists, the light that shines there is the same light that is in human beings. And the scripture from Advent that draws me to this is that in him was life, and the life was the light of man. And the light shined in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. And what that means is that darkness cannot overcome light. No matter how small this small light is, it will light up a dark space, a moonless night. I have a very wise friend who speaks of a flashlight. You never hear of a flash dark because you're not going to turn something on and make something dark. I always thought that was clever. So we have one more song? Can we? Okay. So this is the song I mentioned that was inspired by all the collaboration and work I've been doing with Shushmita. And it's called Allura Takurma, the light of grandmothers. Allur Takurma, Allur Takurma, Allur Takurma, Takurma chased the night with one small light. A light that shines and cracks the night. Om, a seed sown in the ground. A drop of rain quenches the land and heals us till we meet again. Allur Takurma, Allur Takurma, Allur Takurma. Takurma chased the night with one small light. Takurma faced the moonless night. Takurma sent 1,000 aflight. All fear and dread the demons plight. Takurma chased the night with one small light. Allur Takurma, Allur Takurma, Allur Takurma. Takurma chased the night with one small light. And now we play without the moon. Art guides our hands as we make room for those we lead by Takurma lights. We strive today for their insight. Allur Takurma, Allur Takurma, Allur Takurma. Takurma chased the night with one small light. Allur Takurma, Allur Takurma, Allur Takurma. Takurma chased the night with one small light.
Fantastic. That was so fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Dena. That was amazing. The next part of this program, I invite you all to come to our tables in front here and make your own little Rangoli books. You might think that you're not creative, you're not an artist, but artists have already prepared everything. And all you have to do is pick your favorite colors and your favorite papers and make your own combination starting at this end. And then I will staple it for you, give you the titles, give you a tea light, and you take that home as your own Rangoli. If we do not have enough for everybody, please come to this table and speak with Lulu. Lulu, can you just stand up? And she will take down your names and address, and I can make one and send it to you. We also have a table with Dena's musical instruments. You can meet Dena there, and Lulu will be working here. We have some of these little lantern books for sale. So just as people come on up to do this work, to make your own books, I just want to say a little bit. Studio Pause is the studio across the river in a historic Buckingham neighborhood of Arlington, in an affordable housing community in the Rinker Community Center. It's a small space, and we work with a very small crowd of people, but none of that deters us from what Dena taught me last night is our right to play and a right to our culture, which I did not know were in the list of human rights. So I invite everybody to play with the papers today, and if you ever feel that it's too dark, it's a moonless night, just look for the light. It's always around, even if it's small. So come and make your own Diwali book, your Rangoli book, and we'll all be down there chatting with you. Thank you so much.
Atya